They both betrayed me, so I buried them with success. Growing up, I always thought my younger brother Jake had it harder than me. I was the golden child, the one who got straight A's, who made it to a decent college on a scholarship, and who landed a solid job right out of school. Jake, on the other hand, was the screw-up, always getting into fights, always skipping class, and always charming his way out of every situation like it was nothing. Despite everything, I loved the dude. He was blood. I bailed him out of messes more times than I can count, covered for him when he got caught smoking weed in high school, helped pay his rent when he lost his job, even let him crash at my apartment for 3 months when his last girlfriend kicked him out. But nothing prepared me for how far he'd go to ruin my life. It all started with a girl. Doesn't it always? Her name was Rachel. We met at work, a mid-sized marketing agency in Chicago, and she was electric from the start. Funny, smart, ambitious, the kind of woman who made you feel like anything was possible when she looked at you. We started dating about a year into working together, kept things low-key at first, but by the time our second anniversary rolled around, we were living together in my apartment. Things were good, stable, predictable in the best way. That's when Jake popped back into the picture, jobless, broke, and supposedly trying to turn things around. Rachel wasn't thrilled when I offered to let him crash on our couch for a couple weeks, but she went along with it. I should have seen the warning signs right then. He started charming her almost instantly, always doing little things, offering to cook when she was tired, asking her about her day, complimenting her outfits. At first, I didn't think much of it. That was just Jake. He'd always been smooth. But over time, I noticed how he started doing it more when I wasn't around, or how she'd laugh a little too hard at his dumb jokes. I told myself I was paranoid. Then he started showing up at my job. At first, it was just to drop off lunch or grab a coffee, but then he started hanging around longer. I worked in the creative department, and he somehow wormed his way into conversations with my manager, Kevin. Next thing I know, Jake's telling me Kevin wants to give him a shot as a junior content producer. Isn't that what I helped you study for? I asked one night, clearly confused. Jake shrugged, sipping a beer. Yeah, but Kev said I've got a natural vibe. You know, people's skills. Rachel chimed in from the kitchen. Honestly, he'd be great in that role. Your team's been short-staffed anyway, right? I nodded, trying to smile, but something in my chest felt tight. Jake got the job. Within 2 months, he was on my team and stealing credit for half the ideas I'd casually mentioned around the house. At first, I bit my tongue. I didn't want to be the bitter older brother. But then came the day that changed everything. It was a Wednesday afternoon. I had a big pitch coming up for a new client, a campaign I'd been working on for weeks. I had mock-ups, strategy decks, tagline options, the whole thing. I'd been pulling late nights, and Rachel had even helped me rehearse it. But when I walked into the boardroom that day, Jake was already standing there, laptop open, my slides on the screen. He started presenting my campaign like it was his. I was frozen, mouth open, couldn't believe what I was seeing. Kevin looked at me and smiled. Didn't know you and your brother were collaborating on this. Smart move. Jake glanced at me over his shoulder. There was a flicker in his eyes. Not guilt, pride. After the meeting, I cornered him in the hallway. What the hell was that? I hissed. He didn't flinch. Relax, bro. It's all in the family. You just stole my pitch. That's not family, that's betrayal. He shrugged. You get too comfortable, you get replaced. I'm just hungrier than you. I stared at him, stunned. Then he added, low and smug. By the way, Rachel says hi. The way he said it like there was a secret I didn't know made my stomach drop. When I got home that night, Rachel wasn't there. She came home around midnight, smelling like vodka and guilt. I didn't ask where she was. I didn't have to. That night was the first time I ever truly hated someone I loved. Rachel climbed into bed next to me like nothing had happened. She didn't say much. I lay there, stiff as a board, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. I wanted to scream at her, shake her, but I didn't. I needed to be sure before I blew everything up. Over the next week, I watched, quietly, carefully. She started locking her phone again, a new habit. I caught her texting in the bathroom, smiling at the screen. When I asked who it was, she said it was Nina from work, but her eyes said otherwise. Jake, meanwhile, acted like nothing had changed. He was still living on my couch, still eating my food, still walking into the office like he owned the place. I needed proof. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I went through her phone while she was in the shower. I know, it's a terrible thing to do, but I was past caring about morals at that point. I found the messages. Hundreds of them. Jake's name was saved under J, but the things he wrote and the things she replied with were unmistakable. Graphic, shameless, ongoing for weeks. Some messages dated back to when I was working late nights on the campaign he stole. I sat there shaking, not just from the betrayal, but from how casual it all was, how easy it was for them. She walked out of the shower wrapped in a towel and saw the look on my face. Her expression froze. "You went through my phone," she said flatly. "I had to," I snapped. "Turns out I wasn't paranoid." "You and my own brother? Really?" She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She just sat down on the edge of the bed and said, "I didn't plan for it to happen." I laughed bitter and sharp. That's what people say when they want it to happen. Rachel didn't deny it. She just stared at the floor. "I'm done," I said. "I want you out by the end of the week." She moved out the next day. Jake didn't even try to apologize. Instead, he moved into a new apartment with her. The kicker? My boss, Kevin, gave Jake my promotion. Said Jake had fresh energy and wasn't distracted by personal drama. I was furious, but I wasn't going to yell or cry or punch a wall. No, I was going to burn their whole world down. It started small. I knew Jake didn't really understand the software we used at work. He'd always leaned on me or watched YouTube tutorials, so I started feeding him bad info. Tiny things, outdated specs, client preferences that had changed, social media guidelines that no longer applied. Just enough to mess with his output. Then I started logging things. Every time he missed a deadline. Every time he copied something from the internet and tried to pass it off as original. Every time he skipped a meeting and lied about where he was. After a month, I had a whole folder. Then came the real strike. There was a big client, a huge one, coming in for a new campaign. Jake was supposed to lead the pitch. I had no part in it officially, but behind the scenes, I created an anonymous email account and leaked Jake's real creative history to the client. Links to plagiarism, screenshots of internal messages where he admitted to recycling ideas. I even threw in a fake message about him mocking the client's product. The client pulled out publicly. Kevin was furious. HR got involved. Jake was fired by the end of the week. But I wasn't done. Rachel was working at a boutique PR firm downtown. She was always careful about her image, super curated Instagram feed, always talking about branding and how she was building her reputation. So I made sure to send a little package to her boss. Inside, screenshots of her conversations with Jake from when we were still together, including the ones where she bragged about using company time to get off. Unprofessional? Maybe. But it worked. She got let go a week later for violating workplace conduct policies. Now both of them were jobless and stuck with each other. But that wasn't the final nail. The final move came 2 months later, at our cousin Molly's wedding. The whole extended family was there. I hadn't seen Jake or Rachel since the fallout. I wasn't sure if they'd show, but of course they did. All smiles, acting like nothing had happened. Jake came up to me near the bar. "Still mad, bro?" he asked, smirking. I didn't answer. He leaned closer. "She says I'm better in bed, by the way." That's when I smiled. "Oh yeah," I said. "You still live in that tiny studio on Wells?" He blinked. "What? Just wondering how long you'll last there when the landlord finds out neither of you paid rent in 2 months. Jake's smirk faltered. "See, I knew a guy. A friend who worked for the rental management company that owned their building. I may or may not have tipped him off that Jake was earning cash doing under-the-table freelance work and not reporting it, and that Rachel was housing a pet in a no-pet apartment. Also, there were, let's just say, noise complaints. 3 weeks later, they were evicted. But the best part? Kevin called me into his office a month after Jake was fired. "I've been reviewing some of your work," he said slowly, "and I think we made a mistake with that promotion." I didn't smile. I just nodded. "I'm giving you a new role," he said. "Higher than the one Jake had." Full circle. The new promotion came with a corner office and a hefty salary bump. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe again. No more walking on eggshells. No more looking over my shoulder. Just me finally standing on top of the rubble I didn't create but sure as hell finished tearing down. Most people thought I'd be bitter. But truthfully, I wasn't. I was calm, focused. I hit the gym harder, started cooking again, Even began therapy, mostly because my friend Jordan wouldn't shut up about how even revenge kings need to process their trauma. I didn't miss Rachel. At least I told myself I didn't, but the truth was more complicated. I missed the idea of her, the version I thought she was, the comfort, the familiarity. But once you see someone lie with that much ease, it ruins every memory you share. Like watching a home movie where you suddenly realize the house in the background was already burning down. Jake, I had no interest in forgiving. Not after what he pulled. I knew he was couch surfing, bouncing between friends, probably burning through what little money he had left. Every now and then I'd get a message from a mutual friend asking, "Hey, what really happened between you and Jake?" And I'd just say, "Ask him. Let his lies unravel on their own." I thought that was the end of it. But then Rachel called. It was a random Tuesday night. I'd just finished meal prepping for the week, yes. I had turned into one of those guys, and my phone lit up with a number I hadn't seen in months. I stared at the screen. "Rachel." My thumb hovered over decline, but curiosity won. I answered. "Hello?" Silence for a second. Then her voice, soft, unsure. Why are you calling me?" "I know I'm the last person you want to hear from," she said quickly. "But I didn't know who else to call." "You live with Jake," I said flatly. "Call him. We broke up." I didn't say anything. "I found out he was cheating," she added with a pathetic laugh. "With a 22-year-old barista from his gym." My jaw clenched. The irony was almost poetic. "He used me, used my connections, everything," she continued. "Then ditched me when I couldn't help him anymore." "That sucks," I said. "But why are you telling me this?" "I guess I just wanted to say I'm sorry," she said. "For everything. For hurting you. I was selfish. I thought Jake understood me better, that he saw me. But I was just something convenient." Her voice cracked. She wasn't crying, not fully, but she wanted me to hear the pain. I stayed silent. "I don't expect you to forgive me," she said. "I just wanted you to know. You didn't deserve what I did. I couldn't have hung up. I probably should have." Instead, I asked, "What are you doing now?" "Trying to get back on my feet," she said. "Moved in with my sister temporarily. Looking for work, therapy, all that fun stuff." We talked for another 5 minutes. Nothing deep, just surface-level updates. Then she said goodbye, and I sat there staring at the wall. I didn't feel satisfaction. I didn't feel anger. I just felt done. A week later, I got a text from Jake. Just 3 words. "You happy now?" I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded the text to a contact of mine at a local freelance marketplace platform. The same platform Jake had been trying to get steady work through. My contact flagged his account for breaching their code of conduct based on his previous plagiarized content. His profile got suspended. Petty? Maybe. But I was making peace with my darkness. Fast forward 6 months. I was leading my own team at the agency now, landing big accounts, mentoring juniors, doing everything I used to dream about. At our annual company retreat, Kevin pulled me aside. "You ever think about running the creative department?" he asked casually. I blinked. "You serious?" "You've got the leadership," he said. "And after what you pulled off with the Walker campaign, everyone sees it." I nodded, hiding the smile pulling at my face. "Let's talk after the retreat," he added. I stood on the beach that night, drink in hand, watching the waves. Jake was probably living with someone else now, still playing the charming victim. Rachel might have found someone new, or not. But me? I was finally living my life, and not one brick of it was built on anyone else's back. 2 months after that beach conversation with Kevin, I was officially offered the position as head of creative. It felt surreal, almost anticlimactic, to be honest. No parade, no sudden shift in my personnel, just me, walking into a new office with a slightly better view and a team that actually respected me. I didn't even post about it on LinkedIn. Felt like I had nothing left to prove. For the first time in a long while, things were quiet. And that's when Rachel showed up. In person. It was a rainy Thursday. I had just wrapped up a client presentation when my assistant buzzed in. "Hey, there's a woman here to see you. Says it's personal." "Rachel, should I tell her you're unavailable?" I froze. My first instinct was to say yes. Shut it down. Protect the peace I'd finally built. But something stopped me. "Send her in." She walked in hesitantly, holding a wet umbrella, and a tote bag that looked like it'd been through a war. Her makeup was minimal, like she'd stopped trying to impress the world. "Hey," she said softly. "Rachel." The room was dead silent, just the sound of the rain against the windows. "I won't stay long," she said. I had to talk to you face to face." I leaned back, arms crossed, waiting. "I started writing," she said. That caught me off guard. "Writing? About what happened?" "All of it. You, Jake, me. Not like a blog or anything. Just private essays. For therapy." I nodded once, unsure where she was going with this. I realized how much I gaslit myself into believing I was the victim, and how much I projected onto your resentment, fear, pressure. I didn't interrupt. "I was scared you'd outgrow me," she admitted. "So when Jake started saying things like he's too ambitious for you or he's already pulling away, I believed him because I wanted to believe it." "That's your guilt to carry," I said, voice even. "I did nothing but try to grow with you." "I know." She reached into her bag and handed me a small brown notebook. "I wrote you a letter. You can read it or throw it away. I just needed you to know I'm sorry in a way that felt real." I took the notebook. Didn't promise anything. She stood there for a moment, rainwater dripping from her umbrella. Then she turned to leave. Just before she opened the door, I asked, "Are you okay?" She paused. "I will be." And then she was gone. That night, I poured myself a glass of bourbon and sat on my couch with the notebook. I waited until the house was dark, the only sound being the low hum of the fridge and the occasional passing car. I opened it. It wasn't just a letter. It was pages. Raw, messy, brutally honest. She talked about how growing up in a household where love was transactional made her scared of intimacy. How she used relationships as validation. How Jake manipulated her in ways I never knew about, subtle things, like negging and isolation. How she confused adrenaline for chemistry. And she admitted something I didn't expect. He didn't just cheat on me. He hit me once. Just once. But it was enough. I sat there, notebook in hand, heart pounding. I never knew, and I didn't know what to feel. She didn't want pity. That was clear. But she was offering truth. Finally, and maybe that was enough. I never responded. I never called. I never messaged. But I kept the notebook. 6 months later, I ran into Jake, of all places sat at Starbucks. He looked worse for wear. Pale, unshaven, wearing a crumpled flannel that screamed morning after a night with no plan. He spotted me as I waited for my drink. His eyes narrowed. Then he walked over. "I see you're still living the dream," he muttered. I shrugged. "Hard work pays off. Guess stabbing people in the back works too." I chuckled. "You should know." He scowled. "She told you everything, huh?" "She didn't have to. I watched it happen." He stared at me, and for a moment, I saw regret. But not the kind that comes from growth, the kind that festers when you realize you bet on the wrong horse. "You're gonna get yours one day," he muttered. I smiled politely. "Maybe, but not today." My coffee came up. I took it and walked out without looking back. It's been over a year now. Rachel moved out of state. I heard she started working with at-risk youth. Something about helping girls learn to spot red flags early. I respected that. Jake faded into obscurity. Last I heard, he was bartending somewhere in Florida and posting gym selfies that got 3 likes. Me? I got engaged last month. Her name's Mia. She's kind, brilliant, funny, and she knows what it means to build something together. Sometimes when we're up late, I tell her about the past. Not to dwell, but to remind myself how far I've come. She once asked me, "Do you ever think about getting revenge on them again?" I looked at her, smiled, and said, "No. The best revenge is outgrowing people." And I meant it. Update 1 year later. This post blew up more than I expected. A lot of people DM'd me asking if Rachel ever reached out again. She didn't, and I think that's okay. We all have our own roads to redemption. Mine didn't involve closure, just clarity. So if you're in a situation like mine where betrayal gut-punched you, where the people you loved threw you under the bus, just know this. You don't have to win the battle with rage. You win by moving forward and never looking back. Subscribe for more videos.